RRF Caserta, South Italy. News in English.
Okay, so imagine you have a problem. I mean, it's a very specific 1% kind of problem, but still. A total logistical nightmare. You've just inherited one of the most important art collections in, well, human history. We're talking the absolute heavyweights, Raphael, Titian, Michelangelo.
The kind of art that basically defines Western civilization.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the catch. You're an 18th century king, and your main palace is right next to the sea. The humid, salty air is, slowly eating your paintings alive. And you've literally run out of wall space.
It's the ultimate storage unit crisis, isn't it? It's not a dynastic scale. And if you're Charles of Bourbon, the King of Naples, you don't just rent a warehouse. You decide to build a massive palace on a hill.
Right.
And this palace has to do three things at once. It has to be a royal residence. It has to function as a world-class museum to save these masterpieces. And this is the key for Charles. It has to be a hunting lodge.
Because he really, really liked to go hunting.
He loved it. And that gives us the Museo Nazionale di Capodimonte.
Which is what we're unpacking today. I feel like when people do their grand tour of Italy, they go to the Uffizi, maybe the Vatican museums, and they think, okay, I've seen the canon.
Sure.
But Capodimonte is this absolute beast of a place that tells a completely different story. It's not just a gallery, it's a timeline of southern Italy, all layered inside this, this slightly contradictory building.
It really is a complex organism. That's what the curators call it. I mean, You're talking 15,000 square meters of space, something like 47,000 works of art.
Wow.
But unlike a purpose-built museum, this place wasn't designed for visitor flow. It was designed for power. It's a projection of authority that just happens to house everything from medieval icons to Andy Warhol.
And that range is just wild. But we have to start with the origin story because it explains why this place feels so different. I mean, this wasn't a government deciding to educate the public.
No, not at all. This was a son inheriting his mother's estate and realizing he had nowhere to put the sofa.
Except the sofa was a priceless Titian.
Exactly. So the protagonist here is Charles of Bourbon. He gets the throne of Naples in 1734. But the real key is his mother, Elisabetta Farnese.
The last of the Farnese line.
The very last. And for anyone not deep into Italian nobility, the Farnese were the power players of the 16th century. Pope Paul III was a Farnese.
And being Pope basically meant you had first dibs on the entire Renaissance.
Pretty much. Paul III started the collection in Rome. His heirs expanded it, moved it between Rome and Parma. So by the time Charles gets it, it's scattered all over.
And he needs to consolidate.
He realizes that if he leaves the high-value items in Parma or Rome, they're vulnerable. He needs to centralize his cultural capital right there in Naples.
And he tried to stuff it all into the Palazzo Reale in downtown Naples first.
He did, which was a disaster waiting to happen.
Because it's right on the water.
Right on the water. Salt air and a 200-year-old canvas just don't mix. Plus, he was just stacking masterpieces in storage rooms. It was undignified.
So 1738, he orders the construction of Capodimonte on the hill.
Yep, overlooking the city.
But this is where the hunting lodge part just cracks me up. You're building a sanctuary for priceless, delicate art, but you also want it to be your headquarters for hunting parties.
It seems like a huge conflict of interest.
Like, watch out for the arrow, don't hit the Raphael.
It does seem contradictory to us, but for a Bourbon king, it was about showing dominance over every domain. I dominate nature in the woods, and I dominate culture in my gallery.
Okay.
The structure itself reflects that. It's built around these courtyards, very severe, very masculine. Just screams, I am the king, I live here, and I own the history of art.
So let's walk through that history. The museum is laid out almost geologically. The first floor is the Farnese collection, the inherited power. And honestly, the density of masterpieces here is just overwhelming.
It really is.
Well, let's zoom in on Titian, because the relationship between the Farnese family and Titian was, it was practically symbiotic.
It was. Capodimonte has the most important collection of Titians in the world. And the one you have to see is the portrait of Paul III.
The one with his grandsons, right?
There's that one, yes. But also the solo portraits. But let's look at the one with his grandsons. This isn't just a painting. It's a political maneuver frozen in oil. You see the Pope, he's old, he's hunched over.
But his eyes, they're like lasers.
Absolutely piercing. Titian captures the decaying body, but also the terrifying intellect of the man who launched the Counter-Reformation.
And the body language of the grandsons, says it all. One is practically bowing, so obsequious, and the other one is looking away like he'd rather be anywhere else.
Exactly. It's a study in nepotism and the weight of legacy. Titian doesn't flatter them. He exposes them. And that's why it's a masterpiece. It defines the entire Farnese power dynamic.
Ruthless, intellectual, and incredibly wealthy.
All of it.
Okay, speaking of wealth, let's talk about the Antiques Roadshow moment on this floor.
Yeah.
The Masaccio. This story just blows my mind.
Crucifixion in room 3. This is one of those stories art historians just live for.
So the museum bought this in 1901 from a private owner.
As a work by an unknown Florentine from the 1400s, they paid peanuts for it.
Which is just wild. Masaccio is the guy who basically invented perspective in painting. He's the bridge from the medieval to the Renaissance. Buying a Masaccio as an unknown is like finding a Ferrari engine at a junkyard.
That is a perfect analogy. It was only later that they realized this wasn't just a Masaccio, it was the central panel of the Pisa polyptych, a massive altarpiece that had been broken up and scattered.
It's one of the foundational documents of Western art.
And it's just sitting right there. The starkness of it, Christ's head is sunk into his shoulder, so you're looking down on him. It revolutionized how we understand space in a painting.
But if we want to talk about stuff, not just paintings, we have to go to room 14, the Wunderkammer.
The gallery of rare things.
This is my favorite part. It shows that Renaissance collectors were basically just hoarders with unlimited budgets.
They were. It's the cabinet of curiosities concept. The goal wasn't just beauty, it was shock and awe. You wanted to show guests that your reach extended to the ends of the known earth.
So you have the Farnese casket, this incredibly intricate silver and crystal box sitting next to a frog.
A hard stone frog from Mexico, and an Aztec statuette of the war god, Huitzilopochtli.
An Aztec war god in a Neapolitan royal palace.
That's the Farnese flex. It's global. I mean, this is the age of exploration.
Yeah.
Having an Aztec deity on your shelves was a way of saying, we have conquered the New World, and we have subsumed their gods into our collection.
That is fascinating, and also a little chilling when you think about it.
It is.
But before we leave this floor, there's a total left turn. We've been talking Italian masters, but there's a Flemish masterpiece here that feels jarringly modern.
Peter Bruegel the Elder's The Parable of the Blind.
Oh, man.
It's a heavy hitter, a masterpiece of his mature phase. You just have this line of blind men holding onto each other, stumbling right into a ditch. It's gritty, it's realistic, and it's deeply uncomfortable.
It is the total opposite of an idealized Raphael Madonna.
Completely. And that's why it's so important. It shows the breadth of the Farnese taste. They weren't just collecting pretty things, they were collecting great things. And Bruegel is looking at the human condition with this cold, northern European eye.
Okay, so we've done the paintings, the weird Aztec statues, but this was a house. People lived here, and nothing says, I'm a king and you're not, quite like room 52.
The porcelain parlor.
The Salettino di Porcellana.
It's a spectacle.
It is. Imagine a small sitting room, a boudoir for Queen Maria Amalia, where the walls aren't plaster. They're literally made of porcelain.
That sounds like a nightmare to move. Because this room wasn't originally in Capodimonte, was it?
No, and that's the crazy part. It was built for the Palace of Portici and then moved to Capodimonte in 1866. We are talking about over 3,000 individual interlocking pieces of fired ceramic.
The bubble wrap bill for that move must have been insane.
I can't even imagine the anxiety. But, porcelain was high-tech in the 18th century. It was white gold. The formula was the state secret.
So this was a manufacturing flex.
The ultimate flex. Charles founded the Capodimonte porcelain factory to compete with Meissen and Sèvres. This room basically says we have mastered the chemistry of the earth itself.
It's the ultimate do not touch zone. I can't imagine being a clumsy servant in that room.
And it creates a very specific sound, too. It's fragile, cold, and just unbelievably opulent.
So we've done the dynasty stuff, the inherited wealth. Now we go upstairs to the second floor, and this is where the vibe shifts completely. If the first floor is global power,
The second floor is local reality.
that's the perfect way to put it. We move from the Farnese inheritance to the Neapolitan gallery. This is the story of art in Naples.
And a lot of this art came from suppressed monasteries and churches. It was ripped out of its original context.
And it starts with a piece of pure political propaganda disguised as a religious icon.
Simone Martini's St. Louis of Toulouse, crowning his brother Robert of Anjou. This is 14th century spin doctoring at its finest.
Okay, break it down.
Louis was the older brother, the rightful heir. But he renounced the throne to become a monk. So his younger brother Robert became king. This painting shows the saint literally crowning the king.
So it's basically saying, I'm not king because of some loophole. I'm king because my saintly brother and God himself signed off on it.
Precisely. It legitimizes the whole rule. But then you fast forward a few centuries and we hit the moment where the lights go out. Literally.
Caravaggio arrives in Naples.
This is the game changer.
We all know Caravaggio's reputation, the bad boy of the Baroque, but his Naples period is distinct. He arrives around 1606, right?
Right. And context is everything. He is fleeing Rome because he murdered a man.
He's a fugitive.
He has a Christ on his head. He's desperate, paranoid, and he is working fast. You can see that desperation in the flagellation of Christ.
How does it compare to his Roman work?
It's darker. The chiaroscuro, that contrast of light and dark, it's more brutal. In Rome, there was a bit more polish. Here, the brushwork is rapid. He doesn't have time for perfection. He's just trying to capture raw, emotional truth. The light cuts through the dark not to reveal beauty, but to reveal suffering.
And it just completely changed the local scene.
Overnight, Neapolitan art went from saints and angels to dirty feet, bloody swords, and deep shadows. You see it in Giuseppe de Ribera's work on this floor. Look at his drunken Silenus.
It's so realistic, but it's gross.
It's a fleshy, aging, overweight body. It's not an idealized Greek god. It's a drunk guy you'd see in a tavern.
It's that shift from idealism to reality. And Naples is a city of reality.
It is. It's gritty. And that's why Caravaggio resonated so much there. He painted the world they saw every day. Artemisia Gentileschi, who was also here with her Judith and Holofernes, she picked up on that too. Naples just became this powerhouse of visceral, emotional art.
Okay, now, you would think the timeline ends there. But Capodimonte throws a curveball. You're walking through all this Baroque gloom, and then, bam, Andy Warhol.
Vesuvius. From 1985. It catches everyone off guard.
It's bright. It's pop art. Why is it here?
It was a very deliberate move in the 70s and 80s to prove that Capodimonte wasn't a mausoleum, that it's a living institution. And Warhol chose the most Neapolitan subject possible, the volcano that looms over the entire city.
And it creates this amazing dialogue. You look at the violence in a Caravaggio, and then you look at the explosive energy of Warhol's volcano, and you realize...
Not the same energy.
Just different centuries. It bridges the gap. It reminds you that Naples is still this chaotic, vibrant place.
Exactly.
Now, we can't wrap this up without stepping outside. We mentioned the hunting lodge part, but the park, the real Bosco, is a masterpiece in its own right.
Oh, it is. 134 hectares, which is massive for an urban park. And the architect, Ferdinando Sanfelice, designed it with these long, radiating avenues.
It wasn't for strolling.
And for sightlines. If you're standing at the center, you can see game crossing the paths in multiple directions. It's a panopticon for hunters.
But the botany is also incredibly sophisticated.
Oh, yeah. They imported exotic species, camphor trees, camellias that had never been seen in Italy. It was a botanical garden disguised as a forest, and today it's the green lung of Naples. It's vital.
And the view. We have to mention the view.
Unparalleled. You're up on the hill and you have the entire Gulf of Naples spread out before you. Vesuvius, Capri, the whole city. It connects the art inside to the landscape outside.
So when we step back and look at Capodimonte, not just as a list of paintings, but as an experience, what are we really seeing?
We're seeing the timeline of the South. From the dynastic ambitions of the Farnese and the Bourbons, through the gritty, bloody reality of Caravaggio, all the way to modern pop. It's a place where the container, the palace, is just as significant as the content.
And there's one last thing that really sticks with me. The Dukes of Aosta lived here until 1946.
That's within living memory for a lot of people.
Right. This wasn't just a museum. It was a home.
And that's the aha moment, I think. Imagine waking up, grabbing your espresso, and walking past a Michelangelo drawing on your way to the kitchen.
It completely changes your relationship with the art. It stops being a specimen on a wall and becomes furniture.
It becomes domestic, part of the fabric of your life. So when you visit Capodimonte, you aren't just visiting a gallery, you're a guest in someone's home. A very, very rich and powerful person's home.
Which is the best kind of home to visit.
Absolutely.
So if you find yourself in Naples, don't just eat the pizza and leave. Go up the hill.
Yeah.
Get lost in the woods, stare down at Caravaggio, and just imagine what it would be like to have a Titian in your living room. It's a trip you won't forget. Thanks for diving in with us.
A pleasure.
RRF Caserta, South Italy. News in English.